Hey, it's Scott from HPTI, just here to help you figure out how much hypnosis training you actually need. And the way to do this is not to get one person's opinion, it's to get lots of opinions. So here's what I did. I interviewed 2,000 hypnotists, and I figure 2,000 hypnotists could give you enough information on what you should be doing. So first and foremost, I got 20 instructors, and I said, how much training are you offering, and is it enough? And awesomely, all 20 said the amount of training they offer is the right amount for a professional. Now, it didn't matter how much they were offering, they all offered different amounts and said that they were right. It's good to hear that they're sincere and they believe what they're doing is the right thing, although that's not really helpful if you're trying to figure out which program to sign up for, or if you're, like I was at the time, trying to design a hypnosis program. So I asked hypnotists who had just graduated from the schools that they were enrolled in. And I said, what'd you think of your training? How'd it do? And I got about 800 hypnotists who'd been graduated less than 6 months or 9 months, right in there. Right around 9 months, about 800 hypnotists. And most of them said, whatever I did was right. They didn't know what the other options were yet, but they said, whatever I did, that was right. And it didn't, it was just as varied as the instructors in terms of the amount of hours, but the confidence was still high. Okay, so I asked hypnotists that had been in practice for more than 4 years. Okay, so 4 years since they graduated from their first training. And I said, how much training do you think a hypnotist should have before they get started in their business? Before they get started and go full time, how much training should they have? And this is where answers started to get, by my standards, a little more honest, because people were evaluating their success and what they wish they had done. And they didn't just say what I did was right. This is when they started saying a very specific amount of information. Over 85% of the hypnotists who'd been in practice for more than 4 years, this is a big percentage, over 85% said somewhere between 500 and 700 hours is the right amount. Between 500 and 700 hours, 85% of practicing hypnotists that I surveyed said that. That's a big percentage. Now, some said a little bit more was the right answer. Some said a little bit less was the right answer. But when you look at what the range is, 500 to 700 hours was a vast majority of the responses. That's really useful. So when you're looking at a program, don't just ask somebody who's been graduated for a month. Don't just ask somebody who's taken one class, and don't just ask the instructor. When you look at people who've been doing this for a long time, they say 500 to 700 hours is the right amount. Now, we learned that, we looked at it, and when we created HPTI, we created a program that was 500 hours of training and 200 hours of internship, which creates between 500 and 700 hours. And we think it's the right move. So that's where we come from on training hours. There's other schools that offer more. There's other schools that offer less. Take a look and see what you want to do. And maybe you should learn from the hypnotists who are giving that advice free. 500 to 700 hours of training is the recommended amount by 85% of full-time practicing hypnotists with over 4 years experience. Just a little food for thought.